No. Without mic.
So we would like to invite speaker Mr. Himanshu Joshi, Aid Industry 4.0 Practice, Tata Consulting Engineers CCE. He'll be speaking on digital transformation in process industry, unique challenges and proposed approach. Mr. Joshi, please take forward this presentation. Are you able to listen to us?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. Rajkumar, is it possible?
Yes, I made you presenter. You would be getting the notification. Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
We're getting one vibration.
Just minimize this.
Maybe mobile phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
now it's
my
all
phone.
right.
Is it better now?
Yeah, better. Yeah. Good. Yes. Thank you, sir.
So I hope my screen is visible now. I just try to remove the video.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible exactly right. No issues.
Okay. You're not seeing the GoToWebinar.
No, nothing. This is all right. Just you go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Rajkumar, and it is a pleasure to be part of this esteemed forum. And I thank all of you for being here for my session today. Thanks to ARC for this opportunity. I know I have a slightly.
Sir, can you make this presentation in full screen mode, not means presentation mode? Can I help you? Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. You are able to see the presenter view,
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's fine. Yeah.
Fine. Thank you. So thanks a lot for this opportunity. I know I have a slightly tough ask, this being the penultimate session of a long 2-day workshop, and I'll try my best to make it interesting and request for your patience. One of the things that I noted was that all the other speakers that have spoken here, apart from, of course, the gentleman from ARC, were either from the owner side or from the technology firm, and which makes a lot of sense. Of course, owners are going through the digital transformation journey, and the technology firms are providing them the tools and tackles to reach there. But I believe I represent the third sort of key pillar in this digital transformation, which is the consulting side of it. And I think, of course, they have a very strong role to play, and happy to represent that pillar. And of course, I know the ARC team also provides their valuable expertise in this area. A quick thought on why I have chosen this particular topic. The first reason is simple. As TC does a lot of work in the process domain. We do a lot of our work for power plants, for oil and gas, petrochemicals, downstream, and other chemicals, for metals and mining. So we do also work in the infrastructure domain, but apart from that, the bulk of our work is in the process industries. So we have a good understanding of what happens in process industries. So that is one of the reasons why I've chosen this. The second topic, the reason why I've chosen this topic is based on my understanding of this domain, the whole digital and industry 4 domain. What I have realized is that there is some sort of a natural progression that some of these solutions take across industries. And I'd like to take the example of big data analytics, for example. Big data analytics initially was used very much in the credit card industry or in the retail industry because of the bulk of data they had on transactions and consumers. And slowly it found its way into other sectors such as manufacturing, aerospace, automotive. And what I feel is that somewhere process industries have been a little bit slower in adapting some of the digital technologies. And that, I believe, is because of certain unique sort of aspects about process industry, which make not only the adoption, which affect the adoption of digital technologies, but more importantly, they impact the approach that one must take in adopting digital technologies in the process sector. So with that, I will initiate my presentation. And since it is about process, I thought what good way than having a quick look at a process plant, at a typical process plant. Now this is one of the random images that I have chosen, and to be honest, this is not the full plant. This is essentially a unit within a plant. But if you look at this, I mean, immediately the immense complexity of a process plant is what is the first thing that you pick up. And a typical average person, even if he spends days looking at this plant, cannot make a head or tail out of what is really happening inside this plant, and what are the the million pipes that are going in, and the different equipments that are there. What is it essentially that they are doing? And it needs not only the right qualifications, but years of experience of having worked in a particular area, and or in a particular subsector of the process industry. And even after that, what you end up is with probably an expertise about a part of a plant, and still not the entire plant. And it takes such people from multiple disciplines to come together in order to not only manage these plants create these plants in the first place, and then operate and manage them on a day-to-day basis. So the clear takeaway is, of course, process plants are complex and there is a lot of data, but the key word that I want to sort of share is context. I think the context in the case in case of process plants is extremely deep. Unless you have the right context or the domain expertise, it is very difficult to obviously to manage and operate a plant, but also to provide the right solutions, be it any area, including digital transformation. So that's the sort of initial opening thought. But with that, let's look at some of these unique aspects, and I've tried to list them based on my understanding and discussions both within and people within our organizations and outside. So the first thing that I feel is very unique about a process industry or process plant is the immense complexity. We've already spoken about it. There are diverse equipment, control schemes, operating procedures, so many PFDs and PNIDs that are coming together, and complex instrumentation. A process plant with a medium complexity may have as many as 50 PNIDs that coexist together. And some plants with more complexity may have as many as 150 to 200 such PNIDs, and all interlinked, which come together. And to understand them, of course, needs a lot of, as I spoke earlier, context. The other thing which is key is that a lot of these process plants, most of these process plants are bespoke. They are unique, in terms of maybe some of the components are common. But when it comes to the entire configuration as such, they are unique, and very few two process plants will have the similar set of equipment or the similar configuration. So that's one of the key things that I believe is unique about this process industry. The other thing is that the entire process plant, and of course, there is a bit of a variation in terms of batch processing also existing. But if you look at a typical process plant, it is continuous and integrated. What I mean by continuous is, and those from the discrete industry would be familiar with the term hand-on cord, which was essentially literally a cord in the initial days, but now it is replaced with a switch. So essentially, in a typical discrete assembly line, at each station or at regular intervals, there are these switches which you can just press, and it brings the entire assembly line to a halt. And the idea is essentially, if a worker has noticed a problem or a defect or an issue which could lead to either product quality or any form of safety related matter, he can just press the switch and bring the entire assembly line to a halt. Now that is completely unimaginable in the process industry. We cannot press a switch and just shut the plant down for a small defect at an individual level. Of course, there are ways to shut down the plant in case of an emergency. But the idea is that the entire plant is continuous, and any stoppage which could be due to any of the breakdowns that may happen has multiple ripple effects that are there. Of course, there is a loss of production for the time which the plant is stopped, but also in a lot of cases the work in process inventory has to be completely thrown away. Now, if you compare this to a logistics or a discrete setup, the only the effect of stopping a plant would effectively be in loss of production for the amount of time that the plant is not working. But here there are multiple effects, not just in terms of the inventory getting wasted, but also in terms of, for example, it has related effects on the asset health of the different components that are related. Because the plant is an integrated and all these PNIDs are related or interlinked, stopping the plant can lead to change in process parameters, which could have a damaging effect on the equipment and the plant altogether as well. So it affects the asset life as well. The third key area is, of course, energy intensive. According to EIA estimates, industrial sector overall accounts for around 54% of the world's total energy consumption. But when it comes to process industry, I was surprised to note that 75% of that comes from process industry. So this excludes all, discrete manufacturing, all logistics, a host of other industries that are probably in terms of GDP producing an equal amount. But when it comes to energy consumption, process industries are unique in terms of extreme high energy intensive. And I want to bring in an example of aluminium smelter. For one of our clients, we were doing some study related to the aluminium smelter, and during the aluminium smelting process, during the pot line, the amount of energy consumption is immense, and that is one of the main cost drivers in the production cost of aluminium. So that's the level of energy that is spent. And there is a related point when you talk about energy. Similar to energy, when you talk about water consumption, or be it the emissions that are released, again the same principle applies. They are very intensive when it comes to water consumption, other resources, and when it comes to emission. So that's one of the characteristics that separates process industries from, say, a discrete or a supply chain, which are relatively much cleaner. The energy costs, again, there are limited to probably just the electricity that is required to run the different machines, and the overall plant lighting, etc. So the whole energy takes a different ball game, and it is very intrinsically linked to the process itself. And the last point that I wanted to bring across, of course, last but not probably sometimes the most important, is the safety concern. Almost 1.1 billion people, as per ILO, Indian International Labour Organization, lose their life in workplace accidents, and these happen for multiple reasons. Of course, not all of them happen in the process industry, but what is important is that from a perception perspective and from the image perspective, process industries are seen as extremely hazardous when it comes to human safety and environmental safety. And of course, because a large number of toxic, explosive, and flammable chemicals are being used, and there is the possibility of runaway reactions, which will be uncontrollable and lead to extreme accidents where in a go the impact is very high. So while cumulatively over the period, process industry as compared to other industries may not have impacted that much. But if you look at, for example, I was Googling the 10 biggest industrial accidents of all time. Apart from maybe one or two or a few of them, a couple of them being from the mining industry, all of them happen to be from the process industry. And of course, I don't need to remind about the Bhopal gas tragedy, which is still deeply imprinted in our minds. And therefore, that's the image that goes with the process plants. And to an extent, given the toxic nature and the nature of the constituents, the nature of the reactions that are there, it is a valid concern as well. So, so those were certain things that are more, specific to the process industry. But apart from that, there are of course other industry challenges such as aging assets, a lot of data existing in silos, lack of standardization. Now, these are common across the industry, and I'm sure a lot of my earlier speakers must have spoken about this, and you're aware of it. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that. But what I wanted to say was that the other industry challenges also, in additionally, apply to it. So having looked at the unique aspects or what is this unique nature of process industry, let's now come to how this impacts the digital transformation in the process sector. So we spoke about these complex bespoke assets, and for bespoke assets you need bespoke solutions, and I want to explain that by saying that even the imperatives right from the beginning, and I'm not even going into the details of the solutions that are required, but even the reasons why the solutions have to be implemented are unique in the process industry. In most other industries, the prime focus or the prime driver of any initiative, including digital, would be productivity. That's the prime driver that is there. But in process industry, productivity, of course, is important, and that's the reason driving shareholder returns is, of course, one of the top priorities. But along with that, there are three other factors, which is reliability, safety, and energy efficiency, which are almost as important or sometimes even more important than productivity, given the the nature of a particular business or given the priorities of a particular client. So I would like to briefly cover the three of these. Reliability. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that reliability is only used in the process industry. We have umpteen examples of reliability being used in the discrete sector, and in fact the origin of reliability happens to be in aerospace, although there it was applied to the aerospace or the aircraft in itself, not the aircraft manufacturing process. So that's the subtle distinction. In that sense, if you look at an aircraft, it is in a sense like a process plant. It is a very complex equipment which is operating in a very typical condition, and where failure is not an option. Failure means so many people dying because of a plane crash. So similarly, I think reliability in process industry takes a very different dimension altogether. Reliability in discrete would be more again around availability of assets, so that I can get better productivity out of my plant. But reliability within process has very intricate relationships to the safety of the entire plant, and also to the design of the plant in itself, which sort of get covered in the whole holistic reliability centered maintenance processes. We've already covered safety to an extent, and similarly energy efficiency. If you look at it, as we spoke earlier, extreme energy intensive nature, and this is a huge part of the production cost of most process plants, and essentially, and therefore, from an objective perspective, this becomes a key objective. And unlike other industries where maybe energy optimization is an additional priority or a secondary or a tertiary kind of it is not their primary strategy. Of course, it leads to certain percentage reduction. But in the case of process, the energy intensive nature of these industries mean that this becomes one of the key imperatives for digital transformation. So that's the way in which these solutions, because the imperatives in itself are unique, the design of these solutions has to be very differently thought. We cannot just take solutions that have been implemented in other industries and implement them in an out-of-the-box kind of manner. We need to have a structured process to conceptualize solutions that are tailor-made to the process industry and implement them. Coming back to the impacts, the second key impact that I want to talk about is there is the need for a comprehensive approach towards digital transformation in process industry. And there are two key points that I want to drive here. The first one is this whole concept of digitization and digitalization. I understand that there are many ways in which it is used, and different people have a different understanding. But broadly, what I believe, digitization is essentially just converting your information, which is probably currently in a physical form, into a digital form. So this could be, digital sensors, it could be digital engineering, it could be any other documents or data that is available in a plant. So simply converting it into a digital media is what is digitization. And on the other end is digitalization, which is essentially using that information or digital information that is available in order to do multiple things. To create visualization, to use for productivity optimization, for asset performance management, or for digital workforce. Essentially, using that data in umpteen number of ways in order to get several benefits out of it. So any form of app development or solution development using that data is digitalization. But I think what is a key step in the whole digital journey, which a lot of people sort of miss out, is the integration aspect, where data in itself, if it exists in different silos, is meaningless, and integrating that data in a meaningful way, where each data point is contextual, and you are able to understand how it is connected with respect to the rest of the plant is very important. And that's where I want to bring in the point around, obviously there is an IT/OT integration that is required, but especially in process industries, given the complex nature of these assets, the mere visualization of it in a two-dimensional space is next to impossible. And that's where there are these latest technologies like asset information modeling, where what you do is you not only take a 3D model or a digital engineering model, but you supplement it with all relevant data at the tag and at the equipment level, so that it gives you a one single point of visualization, where you can get all relevant data in a single point, and that then acts as the substrate or a framework on which you can design and mount any further solutions of digitalization. So I want to quickly move to the next slide in order to explain that a little bit more. And this is where I want to share our conceptual framework of a digital twin that we have for our clients, that we share with our clients. Essentially, as I said, it has to start with first the merging of the OT and the IT silos, and creation of a platform where OT and IT data can seamlessly talk. Currently, you have an ERP system, and you have a DCS or a SCADA system, which are practically standalone with very limited, exchange of information. And a lot of times that exchange is also a quasi-manual process. It's a high time to bring all this data at a platform level and for them to start talking to each other. But more importantly, in the context of process industry, the third element, which is ET, which not a lot of people talk about, is engineering technology, which needs to be brought into this data lake. And this is very important. Again, as I mentioned, our assets are very complex. And even if you develop a very nice application which tells you the predictive analytics, or which tells you gives you insights about a particular equipment, if you are not able to visualize it in the right way, and this becomes extremely important when we consider the new age workforce that is coming into our organizations. Gone are the days when people used to or slowly, I think those days are going out, where people used to work for their lifetimes for a single organization, or work in the same plant for their entire lifetime, and they would they were the walking repositories of information, and they would exactly know which particular pump is located in which particular location, or which particular PNID is relevant to the problem at hand. The new age workforce needs these digital tools and needs the power of visualization in order to I'm not trying to say that they're not capable. They're extremely capable, but I think the whole perspective and the expectation of the new generation around digital has changed. So when this new workforce comes into process industries, we cannot expect them to spend 10 years or 5 years of time to simply absorb or understand or learn the plant the way the previous generation used to. There has to be a faster way in which they can visualize the plant and visualize all information related to the plant. And that's where engineering technology or digitalization of engineering technology becomes a key. So that's where I think both of them has to come together and create what we call a digital twin. And this, I mean, if you look on the left hand side, your engineering technology is essentially nothing but a physical digital twin. And in the OT-IT coming together is nothing but an informational digital twin. And when these two combine is what we call the full-fledged integrated digital twin in the right meaning. And as you can see here, this is not just an engineering 3D model which can be visualized, by the way, using any AR, VR devices in real time. But if you click on that particular valve that is shown on the screen, it brings together not only the engineering data, but the transactional data from the ERP. It brings together any work permits, isolations that are required, all forms of history in terms of inspection and maintenance. Of course, the operational data from the DCS or the historian that can be right away viewed at that tag level itself. And also any form of documentation that is there in the plant, be it operating manuals, be it inspection manuals. So this becomes a very powerful, contextualized, interrelated, and that's where I was talking earlier about integration. This framework, which we call asset information modeling, it becomes sort of the substrate which can be used for powerful visualizations and then building all subsequent solutions on top of it. So if you see on the left hand side, on the right hand side, now on this substrate, you can go ahead and build whatever application you want to build. It could be visualization applications, command control centers. It could be APM related applications. It could be productivity, simulations that you could drive, or it could be very useful and light digital workforce applications which help your workforce in managing their work on a day-to-day basis, be it operator rounds or maintenance rounds, and essentially get both quick access to the data that they need and also be able to upload the data. And again, that goes and sits with reference to that particular pump or a valve that we are talking about. So essentially, our vision is that progressively process industries will move towards creation of such integrated digital twins where OT, IT, and ET will all come together and give the holistic picture. And not, I mean, you may say that, well, this is a good concept. How do we go about it? Just to quickly share with you, we have also worked through, the detailed solution architecture of how some of these things would work. And I am just quickly sharing some of these things with you. You must be aware of it at a conceptual level. Of course, at a data layer, there is different sources of data. But what we are proposing is that the ET data or the plant digital data should come in, and that should form the fundamental substrate of the digital twin on which we can build all forms of analytics, be it APM or other applications, AR, VR, simulation, process optimization, everything. And then finally comes the visualization layer. So this is more from a technical or solution architecture perspective, if you're interested in that. Coming back to our earlier slide on impacts on digital transformation. So the third point here is very critical, which is the importance of domain expertise. And there are two key things here. One, of course, we're talking about digital implementation for very complex engineering assets, and therefore, unlike in other industries where it is more related to simply the productivity or related KPIs or business process, here the applications have to be deeply embedded in the asset. And a clear example is for example, the any APM, asset performance related applications, be it predictive or be it reliability. Unless I know how the particular asset works, what are the failure modes, what are the different mechanisms with which it can fail, what is the effect or outcome of that failure, how critical it is. Can I do the criticality analysis of that failure? And most importantly, what are the probable root causes of that particular failure? Now, these are all very, technical topics, so to speak. And unless you have that understanding of the asset and the ability to do these things, implementation of digital will only be superficial. So therefore, domain expertise is extremely important. The other softer aspect which I wanted to highlight was, and this is something interesting that came, during repeated interactions with clients. What we, a constant feedback that we have received from, especially the ground level operations and maintenance teams with the clients that we work, is that, your guys, when they come in, they are able to quickly understand what we are talking about. They already know how the plant more or less works. And they are able to very quickly understand what our problems are, and then speed up to the implementation phase, as compared to sometimes when there are consultants coming especially from an IT background or from a management background. Our clients tell us this, a huge amount of time is spent only in explaining to them how that particular process works, and for them to develop the understanding of the problem statement. So that's the other key, it's a slightly softer aspect, but that's where I believe, if you have the right domain expertise, it helps you speed up the entire process of problem statement framing and going ahead with optioneering for solution creation. And with that, I come to the last point of my this section on impacts, which is on the integrator partner required. So what I want to say here is that effectively there is a need for long-term partnerships in process industries. The approach that someone makes a master plan or a roadmap and then walks away does not work. It has to be sort of an end-to-end kind of a relationship where your implementation partner has to, of course, have the top two things in place, which is the comprehensive approach, a solution approach towards the solution, and have the right domain expertise, but have the ability to walk you through the entire way and give you an end-to-end solution, be it right from the beginning in terms of identifying the the engineering operational challenges, prioritizing the digital investments, so essentially creating a digital roadmap for you, and then evaluation of those. So many technological options are available today, and stitching together right solution that is tailor-made to your requirements is very important. And finally, implementation of and delivery of an end-to-end solution, hand-holding you through the entire process is key. So this entire end-to-end is important, and that's where TC comes in. In our digital services, we essentially leverage our domain expertise across the different sectors that we exist in, be it power, be it resources or infrastructure. And so far, while we focused more on the project creation or the asset creation lifecycle, over the last decade or so, what we've done is we've taken that core domain expertise and we've started using it in the plant operations lifecycle, and working, of course, with a large number of technology players. They're a very important part of the puzzle in creating these bespoke, end-to-end solutions for our clients. And I want to take maybe the last few minutes that I have to walk through some of these case studies or some of these interesting solutions that we have delivered for our clients. The first one I want to talk about is essentially a large-scale asset digitization, and AIM stands for Asset Information Modeling, that we have done for a large Indian refinery. And the requirement here was some 10 different refineries. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, there are some 1 million documents that we are connecting in phase 1, and around 6 million documents in phase 2, and 100,000 plus tags. So for this refinery, as I was explaining to you earlier, not only and what we're using is a very interesting latest technology called laser scanning, where we are able to scan an existing plant, convert it into a 3D model like you would design from scratch in the case of a greenfield. So using these techniques, what we've done is not only created 3D models, but there's different information that is existing in the plant, be it in terms of engineering PNIDs, smart PNIDs, the different unstructured data in the form of PDFs and manuals that are existing. So all these 1 million or 6 million plus documents, we've already completed phase 1 and we are starting phase 2 very shortly. So these 7 million documents will essentially be ultimately connected in what you can see on the bottom right hand corner in a model centric asset information model, which will have some 100,000 plus tags, where you will be able to visualize, as I was showing earlier, all information, be it whatever information, the 6 million documents can be visualized at the tag level. Now that creates a very powerful visualization tool. But at the same time, tomorrow, in the case of crisis, if there is some information that is required, it is information at their fingertips. And in case of any future expansion, this becomes a very important tool. In fact, one of the service offerings that we have, which is called Digital Handover, uses the similar technology, same technology of asset information model. And it is essentially used in the case of a greenfield or a brownfield plant, where you have multiple EPC players. Now managing that kind of complexity, those days are gone when we used to do it on, using 2D data. Today, not only the 3D model is there, but using these tools, it is possible to very quickly, on an almost near real-time basis, put together the components that have been developed by the different players and check, whether there are any clashes or there are any issues that will happen during the construction. So those are the capabilities, the kind of capabilities that exist today and that we are doing for our clients. So that the earlier example was on the engineering technology or digitization side. Coming to the OT or the O&M side of things, there are multiple assignments that we're doing with different clients. The one that I wanted to share here was a very small engagement that we did for a company in the steel sector, where there is a waste gas fan that is used in the sinter plant, which creates the suction for the sinter bed, and therefore sufficient oxygen for the sintering process. Now there was a significant vibration in that fan beyond a certain level, and the client had used some vibration analytics techniques, but they were not able to find out why it is happening. So our team came in, a cross-functional team came in and understood the entire problem, both from an operational perspective, but also from an engineering perspective. We analyzed the PFDs, the PLIDs. We did the entire, fishbone YY analysis. We did the, FMECA analysis, and of course, we also used the data analytics tools to do analytics on the vibration data as well. And hence, the outcome of the findings that we were able to provide the client were much richer and much more comprehensive, and they were able to get very good insights from this particular offering. Now, while that was a very small specific example that I gave you, here is an example of a digital twin for an entire power plant. This was a large value tender that was floated by one of the big power utilities, and this on the other hand has all aspects of a digital twin that you can imagine, right from APM to asset information management, the entire engineering piece of it, along with sensors, digital workforce, and an integrated platform which is supported by a Wi-Fi network as well as IT infrastructure. So this is something where we worked along with 11 or 12 technology players, and we were able to conceptualize and work with the client, understand their requirements. We were able to propose this entire solution that comes together, fits together, and works and meets the client's requirement. So this, I think, was a great milestone for us because this is exactly what I'm talking about. Both the comprehensive nature of this requirement and our ability to use our domain expertise and ability to understand the client requirement came through. And this is something that we are now offering to most other power utilities. And again, this is a solution that can be tweaked for most process industries. The last slide that I have, which I will very quickly cover, is essentially talking about the future of where we want to take some of these activities. While we are using a lot of our domain expertise to solve our client problems today, what we are realizing is that there is the potential to productize some of these to productize some of these, some of this domain expertise, and there are certain problem statements that are uniformly impact the entire industry, and if we can use our domain expertise and productize them and package these solutions, then they can be easily, very quickly configurable, and they can create much more value for our clients. Some of these solutions, they are still in the process, in the pipeline, but some of these solutions are already ready. Things such as boiler modeling in the power sector and air quality monitoring in the metal extraction sector are solutions that we have begun offering to our clients, and there is a lot of interest in this area. So essentially, this is where we take our domain expertise to the next level and start using available platforms to productize some of these solutions and offer to our clients, adding much more value to them. So that I would like to conclude my session, and I thank you very much for your patient hearing, and hope this was useful to you.